What is up, boys? Welcome to episode 2 of the OPTC podcast. I'm here with the squad, Cooper, Junior, and our fearless leader, Alex. And today we are going to be talking about basically commitment, the idea of setting a commitment and understanding what it means when you decide what you're going to do and what it looks like to actually follow through and take the steps to make that happen. Basically, all of our athletes and clients have made some sort of commitment or identified some end goal that they want to reach for, or even a micro goal. And along the way, there are always concrete steps to be taken. So I just kind of want to have a very real, open, honest conversation with you guys about like some of your experiences, some things that you have committed to and either succeeded at, failed at, what the process looks like for big undertakings like that, so that our athletes feel equipped and they know that we've undergone tough things, but they also can hear from us that sometimes you just got to do hard stuff. Cool?
Yeah. Sure.
Nice. Okay, well, to start off, I mean, I just kind of want to put a question out there for all of you. Really, like, what would you identify as one of the biggest goals that you have set and worked towards over the course of your life? This can be athletic or it can be not athletic. Like, it really doesn't have to be.
Yeah. I mean, the first one that comes to mind for me is definitely just like bulking up and actually going to the gym, because in high school, like my gym just didn't really have, or we just didn't really have access to a great gym. So I never really got into it a ton. And like I was really skinny and stuff like that. And then I got done with senior year. And I'm like, all right, well, that's enough of this. So then when I got to Grand Valley, like I started out going to the gym like 3 times a week, and I saw results, but it wasn't like as good as I was hoping for, as quick as I was hoping for. So then that's when I would say like I really committed to it and started going like 5-6 days a week. But along with that, like started really dialing in my nutrition and whatnot. And I guess I kind of realized that if you have a big goal that you actually like really want to achieve like the whole way and not kind of like half-ass it or whatever, then that's going to take like, you got to lock in physically depending on what it is, like mentally, and not just one part of it. You know what I mean? Like it takes like going to bed on time, nutrition, being consistent with the gym, takes like all aspects and not only hammering down on one thing. So
Yeah, you were a little guy too.
I know.
I don't think many of our athletes realize that, like, because you did cross country and basketball, right? Like you did both.
Yep.
Junior was pretty small.
Yeah.
I never knew you as a small guy, but I mean, I knew you as like 25 pounds less than now.
Yeah.
But as
a little man.
Yeah, as muscular and strong as you are now, you had to put in some work to do that.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, I definitely did.
So like gym 5 or 6 days a week, eating whatever it took, making sure you went to bed on time. Were there ever seasons where like that got really hard for you and you just like still found ways to push through and make it happen?
Yeah, I guess I would say just like when it starts to get colder and in the winter and whatnot, because then there's a lot less activity and like stuff you can do outside as opposed to summer where you can kind of just go outside and do whatever you want kind of with your friends or whatever. So yeah, the winter was definitely hard for me, and to be honest, I don't like the cold. So it was harder for me to like get myself to go to the gym as a whole. But yeah, I would say that was really the time of year where I had to lock in and kind of ask myself like, all right, do you really want this? And if so, then you're going to have to keep doing what you're doing. So
Really? Yeah. So it sucks to like, it sucks to run into those moments and like see the results stop happening. So I'm sure that was motivating for you. It's like maybe you saw a couple weeks of you stopped seeing some gains and you were like, yeah, don't like this. Time to double down.
Yeah, no, that's pretty much exactly what happened. Like I hit a big plateau like right when I started lifting, because you get like all the newbie gains, so to speak, and then yeah, those stopped for like 2 or 3 weeks. I'm like, okay, yeah, this sucks. So like you said, that was kind of my kick in the butt to lock back in.
What about you guys?
My biggest commitment to myself was just getting faster during my college career. I went from being a PO to being a first baseman and then finally outfielder. And like I was good at the outfield, but I was never truly like fast enough to play it. I just played it because I like was going to have to. Like we just had a deficiency. So I mean, just like that everyday grind of like trying to get faster, keeping to it, and just making like the commitment to myself, like, hey, I'm gonna be 1% better every day until I like legit get faster.
When did you resolve to like make that happen?
Well, our starting center fielder, I think sophomore year, got hurt, tore his UCL in the fall. And then our coach kind of came up to me. He's like, "Hey, what do you think about playing the outfield?" And I was like, "Yeah, I could play it. I mean, I've played it before." And then I kind of just decided, like, "Yeah, I'm gonna get fast."
Sure. Nice. Yeah, I mean, like you, I think for so many of our athletes, like getting to play college ball is currently the goal.
Yeah,
Um, and the reality is that like you get there and it still takes like working towards that goal to
yeah,
keep making that experience what you envision it,
yeah.
right?
I mean, when I first got to school, they turned me into a PO my freshman year just because I was like a left-handed pitcher and I really wanted to hit. So, I mean, every day I just started hitting. Like I had to get better if I wanted to hit. And then the next year I kind of proved that I could. And then it just kept on rolling it from there, you know?
Sure. Yeah.
But like every single level that you play is just a step up and it's like a notch above what you were previously good at. So you're not just going to go into school and be good right away, you know?
Yeah, no doubt. This isn't a trend that like I think we really see a lot, but I think as a whole, it's something we've seen a few cases, and I've heard of many cases of this of kids that commit and they're kind of like got the commitment, right? Like I got in, I'm playing college ball, um, foot off the gas, right?
Yeah.
And you were that guy that like you got that commitment, and I'm sure you didn't take your foot off the gas just because I know you, but even though you probably trained your butt off all of high school to get there, you still got there and had to keep training your butt off to find a spot and provide value. And if you're a junior in high school and you're like looking at schools and you're like feeling like, yeah, I'm definitely gonna get a shot to play college ball, now's the time to like double down. Even
Yeah.
if you feel confident that you're gonna make it, it's like, okay, you set a goal and you have put in the work to achieve that goal, which is playing college ball. But if you don't keep working, that goal is going to fall short for you because it's not going to be what you envisioned it to be.
Yeah. Personally, like I felt the relief for like a week of committing to school because I went and watched like a fall game that they were doing and I saw like three dudes that were monsters of human beings hitting home runs like left and right. And it was like, yeah, I don't look like that. I don't hit like that. It's time to get to work. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. That's good that you had like some self-awareness
Yeah.
and saw what you needed to do. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think a week is reasonable, right? Like celebrate that timeline. Celebrate all of your wins, but job's not done.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you are certainly like the most successful athletically of the four of us. That's for sure. So, Al, tell me about something from your life that would kind of mirror like that level of commitment.
Yeah, after spending some time in college, I realized that I'd had more I could offer and more things kind of started coming across my plate that I was like, there were things in the military that I felt like I was capable of doing. And so when I heard about the Air Force pararescue was like the Air Force's equivalent of like the Navy SEALs, I was like, that sounds awesome. So they essentially do all the same kinds of missions as Navy SEALs, but they're the trained search and rescue and medical technicians that still will jump out of planes and go and save and find people and things in terrible situations. And I was like, that sounds incredible. And I was, in my very early 20s thinking that I could be an action hero. So I was like committed to going and training, and I thought that I had an idea of what that kind of looked like. So I practiced running, I did push-ups, sit-ups, I did all the things that I thought that I was going to need to. And when I finally got there the first time, I had a chance to be there for a few weeks after basic training and train a little bit extra and prepare. And then I washed out about halfway through the first 9 weeks. And I knew the second that I did that I was like, this is not done. Like, there's no way. And I started talking to different people, and they said, yeah, in like 2 years you can try again. Like, you can try out to try again. And I thought to myself, like, well, yeah, starting this second, every single day is going to be dedicated to getting back to where I needed to be, or where I felt like I needed to be and where I wanted to be. So
Let's go.
that's when I still had other things I had to do. I had to learn a new job. I had to move across the country. I had to do all these different things, like big life changes and big kind of like what people would call as stressful things. But I knew where I wanted to get back to, and everything that I did, like there were days that I knew that I was going to be tired. Like the new job that I had, it was 12-hour work days, 4 days in a row. And I was like, well, I still got to go to the pool in the morning, and I still got to go to the gym after. Like, it didn't matter. Like, that stuff at the time, like I might have felt tired like on certain days, but looking back, I never remember feeling like any of those things were like a sacrifice. It was all that I wanted. It was all that I knew that I could do. And when I went back, I had a second tryout 2 years later. I had to do all this paperwork. It was months and months in the making. And I got there and started off with 26 guys trying to just try out. And by the end, there were 4 of us. And this is only 1 week. It was like a hell week kind of style of like elimination. And then by the end, there were 4 of us. And then they did like formal interviews with us. And they only picked 3 of us to come back to like be leaders in the training. And I got to go back. And it was awesome. And I was like, and I was super like relieved for like a second. Like Cooper's like, there's a little bit of time of like, oh, that's awesome. Like, I'm so relieved that I got there. And then it's like, oh, now I actually get to just go back and do the training to see if I can make it. But I was so much more confident. I was so much more excited about it. I saw it. I had a different perspective on it. I had a willingness to go further, to go more intensely, and to go as far as I needed to go to make it happen. So much so that I got injured in the middle of training, and they told me that I had to go back to my other unit, and I was like, dang. Like, years and years and years of work that were ended by an injury that was outside of my control. And looking back, especially in the position that we're in here now and who we get to work with, like those things can happen like at any time, seemingly. Like people can work for years and years, and like kids in here have trained since middle school will get to their senior year of high school and something will happen, like an ACL, a UCL, something crazy will happen, and they're like, well, now what? And I feel like there are times I have a unique position to be like, you know what? I totally get you. Let's have a talk about that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that's like, that's an entire another podcast episode of like, what do you do when all of your hard work gets derailed by something outside of your control? And that really is a hard pill to swallow. And it's a great position that like you have specifically with that experience to be able to impact kids that are going through sort of parallel situations. But I mean, I would regard that as a successful process, right? I mean, you did, number one, you failed. And instead of feeling bad about yourself, you went back to the drawing board and figured out how you were going to actually succeed the second time around. And I mean, I think for all intents and purposes, you did, right? You did put in the work. What I think was interesting as you were telling that was like, where, you're working a 12-hour day, you're going to the pool beforehand, you're going to the gym afterwards. I'm sure you've got like budding relationships. You have family that you're like trying to at least keep in contact with. Like, knowing you, the servant that you are, like, I'm sure that you're trying to help out your buddies and like just participate in your community in whatever way you can. So training for something that big on top of sort of that amount of just not only workload but also personal load is like super high, or super tough. And you mentioned that it didn't really feel like it didn't feel like a question mark for you of like if you were going to do it. It was just like you just knew that you were. And I wonder, why do you think that was? Because I don't think any of us, would be able to put that kind of energy into something that aggressive, like at this point in our lives. Or maybe we could if it was motivating enough for us. But like certainly for you, like you have other things on your plate. It would look different. But what about like that timeline, that experience, do you feel like motivated you to just do whatever it took at that time?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think having had the experience that I did, like going up into like the first like failure of not making it, I got a chance to see what it took to make it. I got not only the guys that I had went through like basic training and that like initial phase of training with that did make it, but then we got to see like instructors, we got to see examples of people and like who did make it and what they said, take their advice. And it's not hard to listen. It's really hard to implement. If you're someone who's like a more visual learner, like that really helped because the instructors would go on runs with us and they would destroy us. Guys who are 10, 15 years older than us, like in the best shape of our lives, like young 20s, like some guys out of high school, like should be absolutely dusting these guys, and they did not. So you got to see, like, you have to, if you want to succeed at the next level, you have to prepare like those people are preparing who are already there. If you want to succeed, if you want to compete with people for a spot, whether it's on the team, whether it's in a career field or anything, you have to be treating your preparation as if like this is what I already do. Like if this is the life that I want to live, if this is the team that I want to make, if this is the sport that if I say I want to be good at, you have to prepare yourself the way that a professional would. Now, it's different, I think, with high school sports. You have a lot of different other things going on, like with school and friends and all this stuff, and that's super true. But like you said, Mike, I had other stuff going on. I had a lot of other stuff going on. I felt purpose in what I was doing, like to my core. I was like, this is what I feel like I'm meant to do. It's not just something I feel like I can do or should do. It's like this is what I am meant for. And that was a big difference for me. And I think because of like the life or death consequences of going into a career field like that made you either sure or not sure. And obviously the ramifications of that are way different than sports. But principles are principles. If you feel like you are meant to be the leader of your high school lacrosse team, or if you're meant to be like just the culture person on your soccer team, like live in your passion for your pursuits. Like I think that's something that people will just put so much time, effort, and energy in things that they are not willing to be all in on. They're willing to be in on stuff, but if you go all in on something, it's going to absolutely change your life.
Yeah, I sort of like wonder if there was almost a moment for you that I think is valuable for any of us or any of our high schoolers after you set that goal, and saw a little bit of pushback on that, where you realize that you kind of owe it to yourself to like really dive in and understand how far you could take it. It's like that it was something that was important to you, and unless you actually go find out what you're fully capable of by diving all the way in, you'll never really know. And not only will you never really know if you could do that, but succeeding or pushing past levels where you felt like you were comfortable and getting farther than you ever thought you could is really, empowering, right? It gives you a confidence within yourself to where you can say, like, that's really outside of my comfort zone, but I've done that before. I know what that's like. I bet if I find out what it takes and I put the work in, I can succeed. And you kind of don't have to be afraid of challenges like that anymore.
Yeah, 100%. I'll tell you a funny story.
Please.
On Thursdays during this just initial phase of training, they would call them Black Thursdays because anytime we'd go into the pool, which was after lunch, they would take the regular, like what they would call water confidence training, and they would dial it up, like the intensity, for example, we would do 25-meter underwaters. So you had to dip underwater, go all the way across the bottom of the pool, down the contour of the pool, touch the bottom, and then surface and swim back. On Thursdays, they would start adding parts of like our military uniform. So we'd have like the blouse, then we'd have the blouse and the pants, and then we'd have a buoyancy compensator, which is basically just an uninflated life jacket. So like you're trying to get there, and then you have like a timed iteration, and then after that, if you made it through that, then you would have to do buddy breathing. That's where you and a buddy share a snorkel, holding onto each other, just back and forth breathing, while the instructor is not only trying to take the snorkel from you, but he's trying to separate you, he's trying to keep you underwater, and then they would add like weight belts to our waists, and so we'd have to like hold each other up, and like it was a riot. Like it was horrifying the first time through. It was the scariest thing. Like people were like passing out, trying to hold their breath for too long, but their heart rate gets too high. People just get super messed up. But the second time through, like once you kind of have those kinds of experiences, you look back and you're like, this is a game and it's fun and you can win. And there are times where I feel like a lot of the stuff that we do here in training, or like athletes in their sport, the kids who have more fun with what they're doing and they really do see it as a game, the pressure is so much more off, and you can just enjoy the process of having fun, getting better, and playing the sport. Because the kids who are like here and are always under pressure, whether it's from themselves, their teammates, their coaches, their parents, whatever it is, they're the ones that have a harder time like getting in here and like having a good time with it or getting better, because they're just so focused on feeling like they're not enough or what they're doing isn't good enough. And you're like, we can just have fun. We're supposed to have fun. Like all of this is supposed to be fun. But I don't know. I think that I don't even remember how we got to this point of this conversation, but
that's cool.
But we were just, I think the main thing is like things can be scary and things can have a lot of unknowns, and even if you don't have the same kind of perspective, like you don't have to have the same kind of perspective as like looking back or like trying again. It can just be like, you know what, if I have the most fun I possibly can, it's going to be a way better experience, even if you don't go and play at the next level, or even if you don't necessarily achieve all that you hope to achieve. Yeah. Never going to be a failure.
I think
sorry, Coop, go
I think
ahead.
like committing to the hard things that we do, especially in training, like strongman conditioning, like that's hard. But if you commit to it, like everything else seems a lot easier and more fun. I think like people ask me how I train like almost every day, and it's just because I've done so many things that suck so much that like most of what I do, I have fun doing. And I think like you do the hard things, the things that are supposed to be hard don't seem as hard, and just makes everything easier, you know?
Yeah. I want to prep you guys. I'm going to ask you kind of about like what maybe your biggest sacrifices or things that you sort of had to set aside or just deal with in pursuit of your goals were. But before we do that, I feel very strongly about that concept, about like just doing the stuff that's really hard and getting exposure to it. And, Alex, your experience with failure and sort of doubling down on that is something that I know about very, very well. You know this about me very, very well. Our first year when we did a triathlon together, I DNF'd. I was one of like only 2 people in that whole race that DNF'd. And I was like in incredible shape. I remember you telling me like, I was just waiting for you to fly past me on the run and it never happened. And I was like, yeah, I was literally just like getting carted back to the start line. I had like these severe muscle cramps, and it's really funny because so many people were like, well, did you eat enough bananas and hydrate? And I was like, I did. But, you know, weirdly, like muscle cramps are something that, you know, are sort of person dependent. And a lot of times they are based off of total fatigue and adrenaline and nervous system recruitment. And some people can be predisposed to them. And I am apparently one of those people. And that first experience I had with them was like miserable. I was like, dang, I can't keep going. Like my quads are cramping permanently, like they won't let go. Anytime I try to stretch them, do like a standing quad stretch, my hamstrings cramp and I have to collapse to the ground. And then I'll stand up and my calves will cramp. And that was like 25 minutes of that. And I would just like, anytime I walked, it would just get worse. So I DNF'd that race, and I felt very defeated for like 4 days. And then I was like, you know, this is, like you said, it was almost like this is a game now where how can I seek that out? Because in retrospect, like it freaked me out at the moment, but like I can handle that pain. Like I know I can. Like how can I seek that out and pursue it again? And so, you know, subsequent triathlons and subsequent like training, training seasons, like I literally just seek out muscle cramping. Where like I do training sessions that like bring that on, and every time it happens, I smile a little bit. I'm like, here we go. This is gonna suck. But I've gotten to the point where like I can keep running, and after about 2 miles, it goes away. And maybe a couple miles later, it comes back, but it doesn't freak me out. And I'm like, you know what? Like I can handle this, and I keep going, and then it goes away again. And you know, every single actual race that I do, the adrenaline is so high that the cramping is like twice as bad as I ever get in training. But I run into it and I'm like, I can handle this, right? Like it's going to go away. And even this last one in September, I cramped for almost an hour on the bike, which is really bad because you don't want to get into the run already cramping. And then I cramped for the entirety of the run. And at the end of the run, crossing the finish line, my forearms were locked up. It was like just the whole everything. But the whole time was basically just this moment of like, none of this is preventing me from keeping going. Like, I have pushed through this. I've experienced something hard before. This isn't scary. This doesn't mean I have to shut down. And that's sort of like a weird example that most of our athletes won't hit, right? But like you run into injuries, or you run into an overwhelming schedule, or you run into a significant decrease in performance due to just like complete stress overload. That's going to happen. It's going to freak you out the first time. And it's going to make you like want to give up possibly. But if you ride that out and sort of like let that rebound happen, where you figure your sleep out and you figure out your eating, and you give yourself enough room to where that injury starts to heal up, and you can see yourself surge again, that becomes very motivating, right? Because less things are going to knock you off of your journey because they don't seem like as big of a deal, you know? So I guess that sort of leads me to like, what are some things that felt threatening for you guys, or have felt threatening for you guys? And they don't even have to be from the same goals, but even if they are, things that are demotivating or possibly slowed you down, or sacrifices you had to make within that process.
I guess I would say for me, it was a big matter of just like, what am I going to do with my free time if I do want to actually achieve the goals that I had set for myself? Because like when I started college, and even towards the end of college, like I usually had 2 jobs most of the time. Like I did concrete along with something else. Like there was always 2 things going on. And then I've always just been a big like relationships type of person, and like I loved hanging out with my friends as much as I could. But I knew that if like I was going to have time to go to the gym, then one of those things, which usually ended up being like, you know, my like personal entertainment, what do I do in my free time, am I going to hang out with my friends on the weekend and stuff like that. Like that was going to have to take a hit if I wanted to get to the gym 5 days a week and like we talked about, like get to bed on time and whatnot. So for me, like, yeah, it's not like anything life changing, but at the time it seemed like, man, this really sucks and it's hard for me to do this, but you gotta push through and you gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah, I mean, that can feel like a really big deal. That can feel like a really big deal, especially for kids too. And I mean, I don't think that like all of our athletes have to feel like they can't, spend time with their friends, right? Or can't occasionally hop on and play the show, whatever, or Fortnite or whatever they like to play. But I think it just takes a realization of like, if you say you are going to do this goal and you have resolved in your heart to do it, it actually means something to you, then you will have to sacrifice. And sometimes that means even those things that are just inherently good, right? It's not like they're unhealthy, but if you're going to actually follow through on the big goals that you set, sometimes you just have to be realistic, and you're not going to be able to get all of that time with your friends that, you would otherwise love to have.
Yeah, and I think it also just goes back to what you guys were all talking about a little bit with like making yourself do the hard thing, because from experience, if you like, there was so many times where I would like go to school in the morning, like college, and then I would have to work for a little bit, and then I'd either have to go back to school or it'd be like a full day of school, and then you work for a little bit and whatever. But needless to say, it was the easier thing to do to just stay home at night or like go out with some friends instead of saying like, no, I'm still gonna go to the gym and I'm gonna push myself to do the harder thing. Because the second that you let yourself start to do the easier thing, like it sounds kind of obvious, but like it just becomes easier and easier to do. Because like you get home, you're tired, you're like, I'll go tomorrow. And I'm sure we've all like kind of been, or we're pretty familiar with that concept in some form. But you let yourself do it once and then it becomes a habit, and then it just becomes way, way harder to get yourself to do the harder thing. So
sometimes you're like, oh, I deserve a rest day. But like,
yeah,
sure, you deserve it, I guess. Like, good, great, yeah. But is it getting you what you actually want?
Yeah, exactly.
You have the freedom to do whatever you want. Go ahead. But only one thing is going to get you the end goal you've resolved to do. Coop, what were you saying?
Biggest sacrifice for me was kind of like along the lines of what Junior said, like kind of just being willy-nilly with your free time, with my free time was like my sacrifice. So like if I had a ton of stuff in the afternoon that I had to get done, like I'm getting up at 6 a.m. and going to do something, like even it's kind of like that now. Like if I gotta go out of town or I just have a ton of stuff later in the day, like just got to get up earlier, even on the days that you might be able to sleep in, like get up early, go. Or like you just kind of got to carve out time during the day,
Yeah. And that's just like uncomfy, and that's not a normal thing for kids to do.
Yeah.
Like kids don't get up early, and we all have this accepted like, on Saturday we're going to probably sleep until 11:30 because we stayed up, until 4 a.m. the night before. That's fine, I guess. But again, like that's not moving the needle towards your goal, right? You're missing out on, even if you get up at 7, like that's a pretty standard time for kids to get up. They get up earlier than that to get to school. So even if you get up at 7,
right,
that's 4.5 hours of your Saturday that you could have already put in towards your goal. And whether that's just showing up at Optimal for an hour on Saturday morning, or maybe that's finding somewhere to go get some ball work in, or hit off a tee for a couple hours, or just like do anything. But like that's just free time that you can either be snoozing or getting ahead.
right.
Yeah, I think it's exactly, it just bears repeating to what you said before, Mike. It's sacrificing what you think you want right now for what you truly want long term. And it's a willingness to be honest with yourself about what both of those things are. Like, do you need sometimes to hang out with your friends? Like, yeah, 100%. Super important, super valuable, super worth it. But sometimes you need to forego that in order to get a little more sleep. Or maybe you just need to hang out with your friends less than till 2 in the morning or 1 in the morning or whatever it is to go to bed so that you can have a good sleep schedule so that you can perform better more regularly. That's what the separator is. It's not, do you act like a robot and not have any friends and not have a social life and not have and only think about your sport? No, but it's how more frequently are you doing that than the people that you're competing against for a spot on a team in college or a spot on a club team or like a starter spot in varsity. Like who's being the most consistent?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm gonna sound like a curmudgeon here, but like I'm willing to bet if hanging out with your friends was like the go-to free time activity and it wasn't like just sitting at home playing video games, then you would have strong relationships of people that motivated you to kind of pursue your gifts to whatever end you could pursue them, and you would be more motivated. Like I know sometimes that's it, where like kids are hanging out with their friends and like that is really, really important. But I guess like I hate to just be this way, but like if you are like pursuing some sort of massive goal as a kid and you feel like you don't have a social life because of it, but you are also playing 5+ hours of video games a week, and mostly it's more than like 10 or 15, right? Then like that's the thing. That's the problem, right? Like it isn't the sport or the work you're putting in. It's that literally like your free time to de-stress or get your homework done or just like get some centering time at home or just, God forbid, go to frickin' bed, that's being eaten away by your video games or your TV shows or your TikTok or being on your phone, right? I sound like an old person, but like realistically, like if you have a goal that exists in real life in front of your face, and you know, you're spending your screen time is like 8 to 12 to 15 hours. It's not the goal that's interfering with your social life. It's the screen time.
Totally.
And that just like sucks for people to recognize because like that's just more fun. So I guess like, are you going to get serious? I don't know. Yeah. I would say the thing for me that was the biggest sacrifice, at least this year, was kind of that idea that like I had committed to something and it took away from my fun time, like my ability to just do things that were like a little bit lower stress and a little bit more enjoyable. And there were times when I like really did not enjoy that. And you know, as a grown man that can kind of make his own decisions, like that's feedback where like maybe next year my goals are just different. I think they'll be aggressive, but they will just be different. So I have more time. But I had already set that goal. And I wasn't going to back out of that, right? So I'm still going to spend 6 to 8 to 10 hours doing, you know, cycling and swimming and running because that's what it takes to get that goal done. Even if it sucks, even if it's not what I really want to be doing right now, like you already committed to it. You know, when you complete that, then, you know, you can sort of get some feedback and maybe reevaluate your goals. But once you say you're going to do it, that's you follow through. I mean, that's a life skill that like as a developing teenager, like that's a critical thing for teenagers to learn early on, you know? So cool. Well, this has been fun. This has been eye-opening to hear about kind of you guys' experiences. I guess if you could leave sort of like one piece of feedback for kids in terms of, you know, their goals, their commitments, what they're capable of, piece of encouragement, I would love for each of you to kind of fire away on something like that to finish us off.
I would say 2 quotes come to mind immediately. One of them is surround yourself like with others who are like-minded and will actually help you achieve what you want to achieve. And then 2, like get comfortable being uncomfortable. I think is honestly like probably one of the most important ones that has stuck with me for a long, long time.
I would say, I'll jump in here. I would say for me, the most empowering thing about fulfilling a training goal or any sort of a goal and just accomplishing something that I didn't think I could is like confidence to sort of go into any area of life and just know that I can exist within that and be effective. And if for nothing else than, your own confidence, pursue things that are outside of your comfort zone and see them through, because like your brain will just thank you for it for the rest of your life.
Mine is don't let the fear of failure stop you from chasing after your goals that you have. I think some people self-sabotage themselves a little bit too much and don't allow themselves to like fully fulfill like what they think they're capable of.
I guess mine would be, I mean, what we even said like last podcast was, I mean, choose your hard. Like there's the choice of discipline or the choice of regret. There's the pain of both, like the pain of discipline, pain of regret. Which pain are you going to choose? To stay consistent or to not, and then see where that kind of leads you.
Pain of regret never ends. It's forever. That'll scare them.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
Clip that.
That's valuable stuff. All right, I love it. Thanks for being open and sharing your experiences. Hopefully this is valuable for anybody listening. So, yeah, we will be back in a couple weeks with another fire episode. But for now, adios from your coaches here at OPTC. Go commit to something and ask us for help on following through. We will be here for you every step of the way. All right, peace out.
Peace.